Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my new patron, Jack T. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. Here we get an update from Hertz, and now it looks official. They have indeed added the Model Y to its fleet lineup. And right now there's no information out there if these Model Ys will be in addition to the original 100,000 Model 3s that Hertz will buy from Tesla, or if these will be part of that initial allocation. And there is a live button on the website already to reserve a Model Y. It will just come down to availability in your specific area. I wanted to share my tweet from yesterday to highlight something. So as you can see, there were a decent amount of retweets, but a lot of these were actually quoted tweets of people complaining about all of the allegations against Tesla, and you can assume what they were. I just want to make one thing clear. It's important to separate. You have Tesla as a company generally moving to do the right thing, but while that's happening, underneath you have individuals at Tesla who will not always do the right thing, and you have to be able to separate those two. So just because there are maybe some instances of Tesla employees not acting properly, that shouldn't just mean that Tesla as a whole is now some company that isn't still really trying to do the right thing. On Reddit, this was shared from a Tesla lobbyist working on that bill 3994 in Oklahoma. They said they made an amendment to remove EVs from the bill, so Tesla can operate as is. We are no longer involved with the bill. Is it still preventing consumers from buying car products at stores? That part I'm not sure about. Matt and I may still work against it today, but no reason for you guys to come back up. So Tesla and its service centers in Oklahoma, not totally out of the woods, but definitely a step in the right direction. So Tesla's next battery will most likely involve manganese for the cathode. Elon has been talking about this for the last few months, and he mentioned it yet again at the Berlin Delivery event. As a refresher, earlier this year, Elon responded to Jordan from The Limiting Factors saying manganese also requires less lithium as it operates at a higher voltage, and just that manganese is an alternative to iron and phosphorus for scaling cathode production to several terawatt hours per year. Now, Jordan did say that you can actually dope an LFP cell with manganese that will improve the performance, but what Elon is most likely referring to here is a new type of battery where the cathode is primarily manganese. The good news is Nano One is already working on this specific type of battery. Just remember LNMO, lithium nickel manganese oxide. Now, I know you hear nickel and you might panic. Well, we're trying to get away from nickel. Yes, but these LNMO batteries will use significantly less nickel than Tesla's NMC batteries for their longer range vehicles. And the work right now at Nano One is shifting to scaling up, and they're doing detailed economic analysis with third-party evaluation, and they're going through the preliminary planning for commercialization. And why should we be so excited about this? Well, these new batteries could deliver energy on par with other high performance cathodes, and they should be more cost effective because it's cobalt free, lower in nickel, and does not require excess lithium, as Elon mentioned. And these LNMO batteries can on average have an operating voltage roughly 25% higher than other commercial high nickel cathodes, meaning you can use fewer cells in certain applications. And shout out to the essence of Jordan's channel here. The limiting factor with these LNMO batteries has been the lack of an electrolyte that can handle the stresses of an LNMO based battery. Essentially, the high voltage it operates at can degrade today's electrolytes and essentially render the battery useless over time. However, once a company, whether it's Nano One or maybe even Tesla, cracks the code to figure out the electrolyte that will work with these LNMO batteries, we could be onto something very important. Quick update on Tesla's short interest. Currently $21.88 billion, 23.75 million shares shorted, which is about 2.8% of the float. And even after Tesla's big green day yesterday, shorts were still up $1.34 billion so far in 2022. And even after Tesla's big rally the last few days, it's still down 13.45% so far in 2022. Quick shout out to my guy Merrick in the comments. I see you. And to your question about Tesla buying SpaceX, Neuralink, and Boring, well, Tesla doesn't have the cash to do things like that. I think SpaceX was valued between $150 and $200 billion most recently, so Tesla doesn't have that type of money just yet. However, this is definitely a topic worth talking more about in the future, so stay tuned for that. We got some images of a white Tesla Semi in Palo Alto, California. Now, you may know this vehicle carries materials for Tesla between Fremont and Giga Nevada, which is a great way for Tesla to get things done and also test this vehicle. And the word on the street is that some of the engineers that were working on the Semi development have now left, not left Tesla, but went to another division that would indicate that most of the development on the Tesla Semi is essentially done. Now for more full-scale production, they're just waiting for batteries and semiconductors. So if things with the supply chain and 4680 production go well this year, hopefully we can see this in higher production in 2023. I'm not going to read through all of these, but this is an awesome tweet thread going through some of the short predictions for Giga Berlin, so I will link this tweet below if you'd like to read through. We got a new note from Morgan Stanley, mainly talking about Tesla's ability to re-engineer the electrical grid here in the States. So here's their math talking about a crowdsourced mobile power grid. There are approximately 250 million light vehicles on the road in the US. Assuming 100% of this park is just a European term for registered vehicles in a certain area, we're comprised of EVs at around 80 kilowatt hours of usable energy per vehicle. That's 20,000 gigawatt hours divided by 1,000 to get to 20 terawatt hours of energy storage potential of the park. 2020 US energy consumption was 3.7 thousand terawatt hours, implying the car park could, in theory, store an energy equivalent around 2 full days of US electricity demand. So basically, Morgan Stanley saying once all light vehicles shift to EVs, they can then be used in a bi-directional manner to essentially provide power to the grid. However, this is a huge if. The first problem with this is Tesla, which makes up basically 60% of all EVs in America, doesn't do bi-directional charging. And two, this assumes that owners of EVs are going to park their cars somewhere and send power to the grid for whatever reason. Maybe they get an incentive to do that, but I can't imagine most people wanting to do that. That's why we have battery energy storage. Let's use these separate things, megapacks, for that iteration, not actually turning these vehicles into part of the grid. Maybe in select applications in certain areas, it could make some sense, but for every vehicle in America to be part of the grid, I'm not seeing it. Here we have Shell with an interesting play. They are basically now leasing their own Tesla vehicles to customers. And if you go to the Shell Recharge website, there's a whole list of electric vehicles available for rent, starting with monthly figures. And here you have it, the Model 3, they have it listed as the Standard Range Plus, the Model 3 Long Range, and the Model Y long range as well. Interestingly enough, with this program, car insurance is included, so are seasonal tires and maintenance. Shell is also offering a recharge card that's going to be bundled with the service, which will provide customers with a healthy number of accessible charging stations around Germany. The electricity used in the Shell Recharge network comes from 100% renewable energy generated from wind, solar, and biomass. Right now, this is only for permanent residents in Germany, and it's uncertain if this service will be offered in other countries. During this transition, we are going to see some interesting things. A quick note on the yield curve flattening. This is going to be in the headlines more and more in the coming weeks, and a lot of people are saying this is like the best predictor of an economic recession. So do you need to be worried? This is a topic I'm going to dive into on Patreon in the next few days because it's very important. Most people look at the spread between the 2-year and the 10-year, and if the 10-year is lower than the 2-year, then that's what people deem an inverted yield curve. However, the Fed actually put out a paper in 2018, and it kind of debunks this, saying that the best predictor of an economic recession is not actually the 2 to the 10. It's actually going to be the 3-month to the 18-month. But like I said, a lot more detail over on Patreon. But for today, what you need to know is on this chart. So you're looking at the 10-year treasury rate minus the 2-year treasury rate. So when this blue line dips below the black line 0%, that means the yield curve is essentially inverted. And these red rectangles are economic recessions. So it is true that every single economic recession has been preceded by an inverted yield curve. However, not every inversion of the yield curve has led to an economic recession. Additionally, you can see that oftentimes the yield curve will invert and then correct itself back above the black 0% line before the actual recession takes place. It happened here, it happened here, and it happened here. And because right now it looks like we might be on a path to an inverted yield curve, a lot of people are speculating, well, a recession is definitely coming sometime soon. However, you also have to look, sometimes it was a few years before the actual inversion happened to when the ultimate recession actually occurred. So the takeaway for now is just because the yield curve might invert, that does not guarantee a recession. However, it is absolutely a great predictor, and there's now a better metric that we're gonna talk about from that Fed paper over on Patreon. This data right here is from the Wall Street Journal, and let's keep this in mind as we watch the expansion of Giga Berlin. Last year, 2021, in Europe, Tesla had 14% of EV sales, Volkswagen was at 25%, and Stellantis was at 14.4%. So over the course of 2022, let's see how these numbers shift. And a shout out to my subscriber Scott for sharing this email with me. Thank you for the support. Starlink prices have increased, going from $499 for the kit to $549 for deposit holders and $599 $49.99 for all new orders. Also, the Starlink monthly service price is going from $99 to $110. Thank you, inflation. A quick update on NVIDIA, as we got news that they are now officially partnered with Lucid and its Dream Drive technology. In a recent NVIDIA presentation, they broke down they're seeing $300 billion in revenue from the auto industry, another $300 billion in chips and systems, and $150 billion each from AI software Omniverse and $100 billion from video games. So NVIDIA is staring at a $1 trillion addressable market, according to its CEO. Here you have it. They announced new agreements with EV manufacturers BYD and Lucid to use the NVIDIA Drive platform on next generation vehicles. It's also been announced that Jaguar and Mercedes are going to use NVIDIA's technology for autonomous driving, and if you recall, Tesla actually used to use these NVIDIA chips for earlier versions of autopilot. But of course now Tesla designs its own FSD computer. And we don't know much about what Lucid's Dream Drive Pro is actually going to look like. However, we do know that Lucid is developing the software stack in-house, and they're going to use this NVIDIA Drive platform to power it. The Dream Drive Pro has a lot more hardware than Tesla's autonomous system. It has 32 sensors, 14 cameras, 1 LiDAR, 5 radar, and 12 ultrasonic units. It looks like Ford was granted a patent for cooling and heating a truck bed. The patent describes several ways to connect the cabin ventilation system to the bed of a unibody truck like the Maverick, although it doesn't mention Maverick by name. So this patent is for a unibody pickup, and right now the Maverick would be Ford's only unibody design, but the midsize Honda Ridgeline also has a similar construction. And last up, we get some new footage of the Chevy Equinox from GM that's supposed to be available fall 2023. It's going to start around $30,000, so they say, but other than that, there really isn't any information given. That'll do it for today. Please like the video if you did. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.